Welcome to the Travel and Beyond podcast with me, Daisy Ayres. Join me on this incredible journey as I share my experience of immigrating from the UK to Australia and everything life throws at me in between. This podcast isn't just about moving countries, it's about growth, connection, and discovering our true selves. Join me for candid conversations, unfiltered advice, and moments of laughter as we shine a light on the highs and lows of this adventure. Hi guys, welcome back to the Travel and Beyond podcast with me, Daisy Ayres. In this week's episode, it is special as we are joined by my friend Tate. So Tate is currently going through the process of immigrating to Australia as well. We will go into introductions and details about Tate's journey in this episode. I just wanted to jump on beforehand and let you guys know that this episode was pre-recorded. So we actually recorded it a couple of weeks ago. So Tate's journey has since progressed and she has now had an update on her situation. So we will be getting Tate back on to share her updated journey with us. But I just wanted to let you know, if you do go on to follow Tate's Instagram, which I will put in the show notes, you might see that her situation has progressed, which is amazing news. And I'm so over the moon for her and can't wait already to get her back on to share her journey with us. But yeah, just in case you're wondering, if you go and follow and things seem out of sync, it's because we pre-recorded this episode before it went live. Hope you enjoy it. And here's Tate. Right, so on today's episode, we've got a special guest, Tate. So Tate is currently in the process of trying to move to Australia as well. And she's a little bit ahead of me in the process. So I thought it'd be good to get her on to share her journey and her experience. But the reason why I wanted to get her on is a little bit weird. We actually knew each other when we were younger. So we just used to know people in the same groups, didn't we? And kind of just from going out and about, I guess.
Yeah.
So we knew who each other were. Yeah. Knew who each other were. Would have spoke when we were young, like teenagers, and then obviously didn't speak or see each other for years. And then when I started my visa process, I was in the Facebook group of the agent that we're both using, which is the Down Under Centre, and saw Tate writing posts in the group. And I thought, it's got to be the same Tate Thompson that I know. And so I reached out and messaged, and we just got to talking, didn't we? And then that was in like January, I think.
Yeah,
And
it
we've
feels
been
like a
in,
lifetime, doesn't it?
I know, and we've just been in contact since. So we talk like most days, really. And it's, for me, been really nice to have someone who's going through the journey as well, because although my friends ask and like my family, I think it's such a complex thing to go through.
Yeah, you just don't understand unless you're actually doing it.
No,
It's so
and like,
like emotional and emotionally challenging that no one will get it. Also, I think because they don't want you to go in a
yes.
selfish way, but
Mm,
I get it. But also, I don't know. It's really difficult, isn't it? Like it's hard. It's nice to speak to someone, even a complete stranger. It's nice the fact that we're close in the fact that we live closely and stuff like that, but also that we're talking like all the time and keeping in contact, and not just like I talk to loads of random strangers on Facebook about it. But it's different. It's nice having someone that you know and is there.
yeah, I completely agree. And I think just to have that person that, like, when we're talking about the different stages, you know what I mean and I know what you mean, because
Yeah.
I've explained it to people loads, but I think they still don't get all of
Oh
the
God,
stages.
no.
And why would they? Because there's so many.
I feel like we don't even really know it. Like when you're at a certain stage, half the time you don't even know what that really entails. You're just sort of taking what the migration agent has said and running with it. Really, there's so many questions that they haven't got the time to answer, so it's nice to sort of
Mm,
get someone else's take on it and
yeah.
have something in common with someone that, like I say, lives close and you know that they're going through it. It's mental
Mm.
how many people like close to us that are doing it, really.
Yeah, and I think we said as well, it'll be nice when we're both out there, because the other weird thing is we both want to go to the Gold Coast, to actually
Yeah,
have someone to, I mean, obviously you might be there a bit before me, but
I
just
hope
to
so,
have
Daisy.
someone, you never know, but to have someone in the same area that you already know as well, I think will be
Yeah,
nice, because we're going there with, obviously we've got our like you're going with your family and I'm going with Aaron, but that's it.
yeah, you really are on your own.
Yeah, so I think that's been really nice as well. So yeah, I just
It's a bit.
wanted to
It
bring
gives you a
you
bit of a
on.
confidence boost, I think, more than anything, doesn't it? Because you know that you've got someone. Whereas if you were going and you were on your own, I think you'd have like a bit more doubts. For
Yeah.
me, definitely, especially knowing that you know the area and you've sort of done it and you're confident in the fact that you know you're going to love it. Whereas obviously we're
Yeah,
going, we've never been, and we're just
I
winging
know.
it really.
And that's what I wanted to mainly speak about because obviously, so for everyone listening, Tate has never actually been to Australia, and she's made the move, the decision, sorry, to make the move, I guess permanently, but obviously you can come back if it doesn't work out. But what made you make that decision to move there?
Wow, I suppose it was lockdown really. We're quite impulsive people. We book last minute holidays and want to see the world, and we were looking at Australia and we thought, oh, let's go on a little month holiday in an RV, take the kids, they'll love that. And actually looked at the cost of it, and it was cheaper to move. So yeah, we called the Down Under Centre and saw whether or not we were eligible for a visa, and we were. So that was that. We were moving. Don't get me wrong, Harry had to talk me into it a little bit, and it was there was lots of and ahhing, but when you really look into it and you look at the lifestyle and what Oz has got to offer compared to the UK, like it's an absolute no-brainer. People don't understand. They like when I try and explain to family and stuff, they don't get it. They're sort of like, "Oh yeah, but what if you don't like it?" And I think, well, if you don't like it, you've done it, you've been there, seen there, like seen it, got the t-shirt.
Yeah,
Yeah, unless you
that's
go.
the worst thing that's going to happen is you don't like it and you come home, but at
Oh yeah,
least
exactly.
you give it a try. And I think so. In the beginning, was it more Harry that wanted to go, and you were the one that needed persuading?
Yeah, definitely. I was really settled in like I say settled. I had my little salon in my garden, and he basically his boss that he works for now had a scaffolding company in Brisbane that his son was running at the time, and it was lockdown, and he was working on his beautiful house in Fontwell. When I say beautiful, I mean unbelievable. Like he was doing the roof on his MMA gym in his garden. So yeah, delightful. And they were talking about Australia and how he just really sold it to him. And he was like, oh, let's just go. And I think at the time, don't get me wrong, his son has come home now because he was in Oz like during COVID on his own. He couldn't get out the country. And I think he got really, really homesick. But at the time, like Harry had a job to go to. His boss was like, listen, I've got somewhere that you can stay when you first arrive. Like literally sold us the
Oh,
dream. And to
wow.
be honest, like although it sounded lovely, we probably wouldn't have stayed in his apartment, and Harry probably wouldn't have done scaffolding because that's not his trade. But knowing that we had the option
Mm,
was definitely a push to think, well, why not? If you've got something to go to, why wouldn't you? And obviously, it's been a long time. This was like 2021. So lots of things have changed, but I don't think, I don't know, I don't think the dream's changed. I just think small parts of it along the way, like obviously location and stuff like that, and
mm.
what we're going to do for work and whatever, that's all changed slightly along the way. I'm not really bothered about what I do now, whereas he will obviously do roofing because that is his like sole trade. Do you know what I mean? Whereas I'll
Yeah.
do anything. Obviously, I can do hair. I'll go and work in a cafe. I don't care. I'll work in Coles. Doesn't bother me.
No.
Just the thing that works, you know.
Yeah. And what do you think was like the the thing that changed your mind? What do you remember there being like a pivotal moment when you kind of thought,
Oh, I
I
don't
want to
know.
do it?
I just yeah, I think like the weather, the beaches. For us, like we love the sun. We love a summer holiday. We're always trying to be not in the UK. So for us to be able to live that life, would I don't know Google mainly I suppose because you just look at it all, don't you? And it just looks incredible. I think the
Yeah.
excitement as well. Like it's so exciting to know what adventure we're going to go on and what we're going to see. And I suppose
Yeah.
not doing it before, especially with the kids, like they're as much as they're worried because obviously Miley's turning 9 and she's got her little besties and she doesn't want to leave them. But I think the bigger picture of it is she knows that she's going to have an amazing time and she wants a trampoline in the garden. So what could be better for a 9-year-old, eh?
And so you've got Miley who's 9, and then what? How old's your other daughter?
So Miley will be 9 next month and Tilly will be 6 next month. They're only 4 days apart. So yeah, we're going to get their birthdays out of the way and then hopefully be on a plane.
Yeah, so they're still at that young age where they'll probably adapt really quickly, I would
Oh god, yeah.
imagine. They're not at
Yeah,
that.
they'll make friends really quickly. I'm not
Yeah.
worried. I think they're worried a little bit, but well, Miley's worried. Tilly's not bothered. She can't wait to get on the
Mm.
plane. To be honest, as long as she gets a new Barbie dream house, she don't care where she is.
No. And what did your like when you started doing the process, what did your family say?
To be fair, mine were, I'd say, quite supportive. My sister and my sister-in-law are still sad about it now. I don't think they've quite come around to the idea. My brothers aren't that
Mm.
bothered. They're just men, aren't they? Obviously, my mum and dad will miss us, but they will come over. They're like semi-retired. If they want to come and spend 6 months, they can. That's the beauty of it for them, really. Obviously, they say they get it. I think. I mean,
Mm.
then no one really gets it, do they? But I think they understand that obviously we're trying to do this for a better life for the kids, more outdoors life. Like there's nothing really going on here. Obviously the crime rate in Portsmouth's horrendous. I just don't even want to take the kids anywhere. Um,
No.
so yeah, I'm hoping. Here's to hoping. Obviously you just don't know until you get there, do you? I've followed quite a few like local community groups for the Gold Coast recently, and there's been some funny stuff on there, but I don't think it's anywhere near as bad as Portsmouth.
It's no, it's not. I did that actually. I googled I think it was like crime rates or something, and it did say the Gold Coast is like the crime capital in Australia.
Yeah, I saw that the other day. It said that it was really high, but for like just ridiculous things, like things that you wouldn't have even contemplated it being a crime, really. So they must. I don't really know.
I think they're a lot stricter
It
over
looks bad,
there, but I
but
think that I like that they're, they don't take no crap. They're very like these are the rules and you either stick to them or like you're punished.
yeah. Even with like speeding fines and stuff, I think, aren't there? A lot of people have said about like getting speeding fines within the first couple of months of being there because they're just
Mm,
not aware of the speed that they're doing or whatever. But obviously, their fines are a lot more expensive than ours.
yeah. Yeah. And what about so like what made you decide on the Gold Coast? Because I've been to Australia and I have been to like most main areas. So I kind of have a visualization of like what each town or city's like and what the lifestyle's like there. But that must have been really hard for you not ever have gone there to try and decide where you wanted to end up.
So it started off with just like the weather, really. We wanted to be somewhere that was hot all of the time. I'm not
Mm,
about that winter life. We didn't want any cold. I mean, obviously, we're going to climatise and it's going to feel cold, but it's never going to be miserably freezing and raining in the
mm,
winters like Harry gets here, obviously being on a roof. So that was the main thing for us, was the weather. Perth was too isolated for us. We like to be not in and amongst it, I suppose, but like we love London, so it'd be nice to be close to a city rather than just being stuck with one
yeah,
city, if you know what I mean. Um,
yeah,
and I do think like, I don't know, I didn't really think Melbourne was for me purely because of the climate in the winter and stuff. It does get a
hmm,
lot colder, doesn't it?
yeah,
That was The weather was a big decider, and
yeah,
then obviously his boss had the company in Brisbane, so we looked at Brisbane anyway. And then there was a point in time where we didn't know whether we were going to be able to get a 190 visa or whether we were going to have to go on, I think it was a 491, the regional one. So when we thought that that might have been a possibility, we started looking at regional areas. And Gold Coast was obviously like 45 minutes out from Brisbane, and that's where we just looked at, really. Started looking at house prices and what you can get for your money. I was looking at jobs, like there was a lot of, well, there was probably 2 or 3 barbershops that I was interested in working in Brisbane. I probably won't do that now because it's a bit far out, and obviously with like school pickup times and stuff
yeah,
like that, I'm not sure it would work. But until we get there, I don't know. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I didn't ever look at like the Sunshine Coast or anything like that. It just didn't come up. We just sort of looked at Gold Coast, looked at Helens Vale as a main one, started getting chatting with a few other people that were going as well, and people that are already there too, like on webinars and stuff. So I don't know. I think it just sort of stuck. It was affordable. The weather was right. The schools looked okay. It was close to the beach. It sort of ticked everything that we've got here, but with beautiful
yeah.
sunshine.
Yeah, that's kind of the same reasoning as us. Obviously, like we've been there, so I mean, Aaron hasn't actually been to the Gold Coast, so I have. I lived there for 6 months, and I loved living there. I really did. But it was kind of same reasons, like good weather all year round. The house prices are more affordable because Sydney probably would be our second choice, but Sydney's like London; it's so expensive to live. You don't get that much for
Yeah.
your money. Sydney, it rains a lot as well. So I was like, oh, I don't, I'm kind of like you. I love the sun. I want to be near the sun. I want to be near the beach. Um, and I think
Good
I say to
resting
people,
place.
whatever you would picture Australia to be like in your head is what the Gold Coast is like.
Yeah, yeah.
It's,
I hope so
like
anyway.
it is. It's like the beaches, the skyscrapers, the good weather, palm trees, that kind of thing. That's what the Gold
Yeah.
Coast is like.
When I look into
And
it as well, like obviously Instagram's massive, isn't it? So I think like you look at like the twilight markets and stuff like that. That's all the things I want to be doing with the kids. I want to be out in the evenings, doing fun
mhm,
things where you can just go for a mooch, can't you? Whereas in England, you have to pay to do everything because we're just not
yeah,
set up for like that outdoor living, or even for kids really. Even you can only use the parks a certain amount of like months of the year because it's either wet or freezing. Other than that, it's pretty
yeah,
useless, isn't it?
yeah. Your family life is going to completely change for the better because you're just going to, I think, have so much more to do with the kids and, like you say, be outside rather than paying to do stuff inside.
Yeah. I think there's just so much to see, isn't there? Even when you just like we get on Google Maps all the time, we like plot routes that we want to see things, and
Yeah.
even like yeah, there's obviously like the Warner Brothers studios and stuff like that, which you'll have to pay and go
hmm
and do, but it's no different to going to Peppa Pig World.
You can get it's for well, when I was there, I'm assuming you can probably still do it. They've got the Sea World, I think it's Wet and Wild and Dream World, which are like three parts, but you could get an annual pass. Wasn't that
Oh wow.
much?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can get into all three with like unlimited entry
Oh,
to all three for the year.
well, that's good to know. Love that.
Yeah. And so where now, obviously to update everyone because we're at different parts, where are you at now with your visa journey?
So we've lodged our visa back in December last year, and it will be 10 months on the 8th of October since we lodged basically. So we're still waiting. We're just waiting for our visa to be granted, and then we'll be on a plane. But obviously, as you know, that's not going to plan, because we should have had it months ago, along with about 30 other people with our agent. So it's quite frustrating. We've got to this point really because we thought we would have had it a lot earlier, but immigration have obviously got other ideas.
Yeah, and what are you gonna do if obviously I know you're at a point where you're like itching to go and you're kind of in limbo. What are you gonna do? Are you gonna sit and wait for your visa to come through and then go, or what's your plans?
Well, we're hoping it will come through before we leave. We want to leave the end of November, because we just don't want to be here for Christmas. We did our last Christmas, and we don't want to really be sort of
Mm,
in the middle of the British winter before we leave. So we would love to go over on a tourist visa and just wait out there. If we go end of November, the 13-month mark, which is where they say 90% of applications should be processed by at the moment, that will be January. So that'll be sort of, we'll go at 11 months. It'll be almost 12 months to be fair, and hopefully we shouldn't have too long waiting for our permanent residency visa to come through. But you just don't know. I mean, we can probably afford to live 6 months, I think we've worked out. Um, that's like everything. I've been really, really like strict on what we spend and stuff like that, so that we know that
mm,
we've got enough money. Because I don't want to come unstuck in a country where we can't work until we've got our visas. But that is the plan because limbo it's been a long 10 months. Let's put it that way. I'm living with my mum and dad. The girls are downstairs sharing a room, and we basically did out the attic room. Um, with no plan to be here this long, to be honest. We sort of knew that we wanted to go November time, but I think if we had had our visas by now, then we definitely would have gone sooner because we just want to get over there now. Like it,
yeah,
10 months, it doesn't sound like a long time, but when you don't know when that 10 months is going to end, it feels like a lifetime. I said to Harry the other day, it's
yeah,
just like being pregnant, except you know you're going to have a baby at the end of it, but we
yeah.
don't know when we're going to get a visa. So yeah,
No,
it's been
and I
tough.
completely get it. Yeah, and that's the thing. I'm 9 months in now since when we like formally started our journey, and we haven't even got an invite yet. And we really thought by this point we would have been like invited and lodged.
Yeah,
And I'm thinking, I could have now another, 12 months, let's just say, of this waiting around. And we always knew it was going to be a long process, and we always knew it was never going to be easy. But I think the hard thing is, like you, it's the logistics of everything. You know, when do we sell our house? When do we start getting rid of all of our stuff? When do we plan to go? It's the unknown. If they
Yeah,
turn around and said to us, not going to get your visa until September 2025, it would be like so frustrating. But at least we kind of have a timeline to work with.
yeah, absolutely,
It's
yeah.
the not knowing, I think, and I think that's from all the posts that I see in the Facebook groups and the conversations. I think that's what everyone struggles with. I don't know if you're the same as me, but every day I'm like just thinking about my life when I'm there,
Yeah.
and
I
every
just think
day
about what
I'm
I could be doing. Yeah,
yeah, and I'm just like I just don't want to be here. It sounds so ungrateful because I know that I've got a good life here, but I just don't want to be here. And every day I'm just like I just don't want to be here. I want to
no,
be
yeah,
there.
yeah, absolutely. We're ready now. Obviously, we started in like 2021.
Hmm.
I think it was the August of 2021. So obviously, we're like 2 years on now. And to be honest, it moved pretty quickly for us to begin with. I think we lodged our skills in like February. By March, it had come back positive. And then we put an expression of interest in May. Within like 9 days or something mad, it had come back and we had an invite to apply. So we applied, and then I think it was about 10 days after that, we did get a refusal, because there was a discrepancy in points. It was really silly, to be honest, but it happened and it was what it was. Really frustrating at the time because we felt like everything was really moving. I think if we have had our invite then, we probably would have a visa by now, but that's just
Yeah.
hindsight, isn't it? It's one of those things. So then in the October, we obviously had to wait. The tax year ended in June, at the end of June, and then we had to wait until like September to be able to put in another expression of interest, because the states just took months opening because they didn't release any quotas or anything like that, which was really frustrating. But then
Mm.
I think literally 30 days later we had our invite to apply, so um we did that, and then we lodged our visa, I think, in December.
We're in that situation like you were last year where they're just taking ages to reopen. They're taking
Yeah,
ages to start sending invites. We're expecting this week, so it's the end of September now when we're recording, that most of the states will be sending invites out by the end of this week. But I just don't feel
fingers crossed.
confident that we're going to get one. Fingers crossed. I really hope.
Do you know what though? On our second one, after the first one got refused, I was like, "That's it, we're not going." I just had no faith at all that it was going to be okay. I was on all the forums asking like, "Has anyone ever had a refusal?" And then still got like another invite, because I thought there's no way if they've refused us once that they were going to invite us again, but they did. Um, I remember I was cutting like a long-term client's hair, and I got the call from Jenny. I said, "I'm so sorry, I really need to answer this." She said, "Oh, you've had your invite to apply," and I literally like jumped for joy. I rang Harry. I said, "I can't carry on cutting your hair until I've spoken to him." So we just had a good laugh about it, and I rang Harry and told him, and even he couldn't believe it. But yeah, I mean, when you get that phone call, and that was only like the invite to apply, that was like, well, that I think that might have been the state nomination approval, actually. I can't remember. It's one of the two. But yeah, literally felt like I was on cloud nine. So I can't even tell you. Like, it's so hard because obviously not having the visa is like a kick in the teeth every single day. Like, you wake up, we check our emails all
Yeah.
day. I'm thinking, what time is it in Australia? Have they finished work yet? Is there any chance that we could still get one today? And then it got like another Friday comes and it's been another week and we still haven't had
Mhm.
one. But I think there's partially like, it's actually it's quite draining being this excited for such a long period of time, because
Mm.
knowing that you've got like all this excitement and so much to look forward to, but not knowing when it's coming, it's like excitement and frustration. It's not even like they cancel each other out, because it's so
No.
mixed.
Yeah, no, I completely get it. And it's also like, I don't know if you do this, but I go around and mental like games to myself of like, it's out of your control. It's going to happen at some point. Just like enjoy your time that you're here. Be, grateful that it's actually going to happen. And then I have days where I'll just be like, I'm just sick of waiting for an invite now. I
Yeah,
just like want to know that I'm moving on to the next stage.
yeah,
It's just mentally exhausting, I think.
it's just limbo, isn't it? It's just the not knowing, like,
Mm-hmm.
how many more weeks are we going to have to be here before we know that we can actually go and work? I mean, we could get on a plane tomorrow, and there is a lot of people obviously travelling at the moment waiting for their visas because we're all in the same boat. But that in itself is also like, I don't, it's weird because one thing can make you feel really confident, and then on the flip side, that thing can also make you feel really worried because you think, well, why haven't they had their visa? Because they like for us, there's only like I think there was about 2 roof tilers that have applied um in the whole thing. Like I saw a document that basically says there's less than 5, I think. Um so for us, we're thinking, well, if there's only 2 that have applied, why haven't they given us one yet? And then I'm thinking, well, if there's only 2 that's applied, maybe they're just not going to grant it. So I think you just always think there's so
Yeah,
many questions. There's just so many questions that you're never going to get an answer to. It's mad.
never. No, and I remember being on one of the Down Under Centre webinars and Jenny saying like there is no way of understanding how these visas are processed. She said there's just no way of understanding like the order, the priority. It kind of does seem just like a luck of the draw because I
Yeah.
always see in the group there's like electricians and some have been moved through in like 6 months, and then you see others that have been waiting for 18 months. You're like, you can't even say it goes on skill set or points because there
No.
seems to be people with the same skill and the same points going through at completely different paces. So
I literally feel like we're just swimming around in this pool and someone's playing like Hook the Duck. That's what I feel like. And like we're just waiting for our little duck to get hooked so that we can get our visa.
yeah, I know, I feel the same. And there is one thing that I think will be good. So I'm going to speak about Pepper's journey. Obviously, you've got your little dog,
Yeah.
and talk us through, what that situation is with your dog.
So we've got a Frenchie, so he comes under a brachyphilic breed, which is just a flat faced breed basically. That's like Pepper as well. She is
Mm,
pugs, boxers, English bulldogs, you name it. Anything that's got a flat face and no snout basically. They're really, really hard to travel. So as you know, it's very, very expensive. But there's also quite a lot of risk involved. And for Rex, he scored a 5 on his fit to fly. So you need to be under 6 to be
yeah,
able to fly. But obviously, 5 is very close to 6. And the vet basically said that although he is fit to fly, it would be really stressful for him. And if it was her dog, she wouldn't be doing it. So it's a tricky one because obviously he's like my baby. He's only 3 as well. So that's going to be really sad, like not having him. But we think we might have found a home for him.
oh
Um,
my god,
yeah,
yay,
with Harry's friend, as long as he gets on with their dogs, they've got a Frenchie and a miniature dachshund as well. So as long as he gets on with
uh,
their dogs, that's where he'll be going, which will be nice because we'll still get to see him. I know he's going to a good home. They're really
yeah,
loving. Because that's my main thing. I just feel like he's such a good dog. He just needs to go to someone that's going to love him as much as I do, because he's been a real saviour for me. He was like my little bestie when
yeah,
sort of COVID was going on, and I always wanted a dog. And to be honest, it's almost made me like now I don't think I could ever replace him because he's such a babe. I love him, but um, yeah, I get it. Like obviously, because Aaron doesn't want to leave Pepper, does he? And I do get it, but I do think as well, for me, it's too risky. If anything was to happen to
yeah,
him in like transit, and then the 30 days
yeah.
quarantine as well, like I think that's a long time to be without us.
It
Especially for
is.
Frenchies, they're really. I don't know. He's not dependent as such, and I think he'd be fine once he got settled. But I don't. Yeah, it's
It's
just I
it's
would
not
always
worth
worry
the
about it.
risk. Yeah, I can, and it's such a hard thing to go through as well because I mean, for us, it wasn't even like a conversation because Aaron's saying if Pepper's not going, he's not going. But we did say when we were taking her for a fixed flight test, like I was like, what are we actually going to do though if she doesn't pass it? And he was like, I can't talk about that. Like I can't even think about because he
Yeah,
kind of feels like he'd have to be choosing between like my happiness or leaving Pepper. I know that sounds dramatic, but you know
yeah.
how obsessed he is with
Your
her.
happiness or his happiness.
Basically. Um, but yeah, it's just, and there's just so much that goes into it that I think not everyone understands as well. Like you are literally uprooting your whole life.
Yeah,
But I guess for you as well, like we're saying, you don't want to replace him. You would need to wait until you were 100%
sure.
sure.
Yeah,
I
like
thought I lost you. 100% sure that you want to stay there, because obviously, if you get another dog and then you decide that it's not for you and you want to move back to England, then you've got the whole thing of transitioning the dog back from Australia to the UK.
yeah,
So
absolutely not.
no, you're probably going to need, if you did want to think about getting a dog at some point in the future, you'd need to wait until you were definitely like,
100% sure. Yeah.
what are you most looking forward to move over there?
Oh, having my own house again. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's not the most thing. I just think
No, but
everything. Like,
that's,
I'm so excited.
yeah. I'm really hoping that you get a grant. So we'll have this catch up and then we can do another one when hopefully you'll have your grant by the time that you're leaving and you'll be able to go and relax and enjoy, because although you think, oh, you can go over there for a holiday until you wait, it's not going to be as relaxing as going over there,
No.
having your grant and having time off work,
Yeah,
because you're going to be
absolutely.
thinking about money. You're going to still have on your mind every day, like you said, waking up, checking your emails. When am I getting the grant? Because as well, you have the stress, like we were saying, like with money, because you
Yeah.
can't work. So you've only got so much money to keep you going. Obviously, you don't want to spend your life savings.
No. On a little
So
6 month trip.
yeah, I really, really hope that you get it soon, and then we can have an update when you've got the visa and when you're going.
Fingers
Um,
crossed. I just,
and
yeah, hopefully it'll come. Well, I don't know. October, that'd be nice. Next week, tomorrow.
any time, just any time. Have there been any people? Because I know, like you said, there's a group of you that kind of seem to apply around the same time, and I see loads of people in the group that have applied in December. Does there seem to be anyone from your sort of like group that seems to be getting approved yet?
No, none of us. There's like a window, I think from like the 2nd of December to around the 10th or 12th, and there's a lot of us still waiting, and some
Mm.
people on shore, some people that are just like us booking last minute holidays just to get them through, um, because the wait has just been so long. But no, I don't think any of us have had it yet. I think obviously Tony and Nikki Bird, they got theirs the other day, but they applied like June 22, I think, from what I was speaking to someone about the other day, and they were
So
part of their
hopefully it's
group
just
who all
your.
got. Sorry, go on.
Sorry, I was just going to say, hopefully, like your whole group, we just get a flurry of grants.
Yeah, it's just no movement at all, is there? It's crazy.
No,
It's
I
just
don't
been
know what.
absolutely nothing.
No, I don't know what's going on. And I did speak to Wes, and he was like, I've never seen this happen. I don't know what's actually going on. It's really unusual.
Yeah, even Jenny said, she said there's just no logic to it. You should have. There's no reason why you shouldn't have had it, because she said that she thinks, from what she can tell, people that lodged their visas after us have now been asked for any extra like documents or anything. So theoretically, they should have looked at ours and not needed anything, because we haven't got anything else to give them. We front loaded our medicals and our police checks, so they shouldn't need anything off of us. It should just be sort of a direct grant. But she thinks they've looked at it. Who knows? She doesn't even know. But obviously they don't. There's no communication with immigration, is there? So we just get
No,
an email back.
it is just a waiting game. That's all it is, isn't it? So yeah, hopefully we can release this episode, and by the time it's released, we can do another recording of you saying that you've got your grant and you've done the flight over there, and you are sort of getting set up. And if not, I
Hopefully,
think what we'll do is check in either way if you do decide to go over there on a tourist visa to see how you're getting on. Because I want to hear all about it as well. But I think it'll be good for other people that are in similar time frames to me, or even people that are like a
yeah.
bit behind you when they lodge their application. Because I think just even knowing or like hearing people talk about how they feel, it makes you think like I'm not alone in it. Because
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, just knowing that you're not alone makes a big difference. I think that's why it's
yeah,
been so nice that we've sort of, although we're at different stages, like we do both
yeah,
understand, obviously, and
yeah, definitely. Because like we said at the beginning, like people will ask you and when they're like, "Oh, have you had any news yet?" I think people expect like Aaron and I were talking about this the other day, and we think people, like at his work, they're all going, "Oh, I thought you were going to Australia by now." And he's like, they just don't get it. Even though I've told them it's not going to be until next year,
Yeah.
people kind of think that you go, "Oh, I'm moving to Australia," and then you just book a flight and go.
Oh, that'd be lovely, wouldn't it?
It would be amazing. But it's just not like that. And even, like friends or family, and they say, "Have you heard anything yet?" And you're like, "No." I think then they start to think like, "Oh, you're not actually going to go."
Yeah. I think people do think that. Now it's been like
Yeah.
2 years and they're sort of like, I saw someone the other day who was like, "Have you not moved yet?" I thought, oh, don't. No, no, I haven't. Wish I
No.
had.
And I haven't told my work yet, so my work don't know. And then you're kind of like, you just don't know when you're going to need to tell certain
No.
people.
That's it. I mean,
Yeah.
I've handed my notice in at work and I finish in 3 weeks' time. And I don't even know if we're going to go in November, but I don't have a job as of 3 weeks' time, apart from obviously my hair, which I can do. I can start doing that more. But yeah, that's not a solid income when you haven't been doing it for however long. It's been like nearly a year. So I just sort of got to pick up where I left off and hope for the best, really.
You never know. You could have your grant by then.
I hope so. 3 weeks.
You could. Fingers crossed. So yeah, let's we'll keep in touch anyway, but I'll definitely get you on hopefully when you've had a grant, if not in a few weeks at the end of we'll check in like at the end of November to see what your plans are
Yeah.
and then sort of follow it through from there. So yeah, thank you for coming on and kind
That's
of
all right.
sharing your journey and sharing your struggles and what you've done along the way. And yeah, we'll keep in touch and come back on the pod, and then hopefully it'll be good news next time we speak. You would have booked your flights, had your visa come through, and know what you're doing and where you're going.
Yeah, I'll have a bit more of an update for you.
Yeah, right. Speak soon.
See you later.